I believe that I am streaming. I don't know if any of you have come into the event yet or not, but if you have, please type something in the chat so that I know that everything's coming through loud and clear. Excellent, Jay. I'm glad you hear me. Excellent, Jay. I'm glad you hear me. Excellent, Jay. I'm glad you hear me. Okay, so we'll do a little sound check here, make sure everybody is able to hear the audio. So if you just type into the chat, make sure that's working properly. I'd appreciate it. Welcome to my first YouTube webinar. We'll see how this goes. There are a lot of moving parts to actually make this happen, so we'll see. Since it's just us, I'm going to start the webinar. We're about a minute early or so. I have done some market analysis earlier today, so no one should feel like they're missing anything dramatic here. I'm going to zoom out and go to a daily chart, and we'll look at that first. We'll put up our major moving averages. And so here we can see that we've got the compression right in here. And we've got our breakdown below the 100-day moving average. And the market is trying to come up and fill in this gap right here. I suspect that we're going to see follow-through selling down to this 200-day moving average. So that gives us about 50 S&P points. Hopefully this transpires over the course of the next week or two. I don't really see it lasting much longer than that because we've got earnings coming up, and shorts are always very, very reluctant to short the market ahead of mega cap tech earnings. So I think that there is going to be a small bid to the market. And the other thing to keep in mind is that one of the strongest weeks of the year is coming up, and that period is the last 5 days or so of October and the first 5 days of November. So historically, that's been a very good period for the market. Most of that is because the market has sold off before that period. So October, usually a weak month. So we should be able to see a bit of a selling climax in here in the next few days. This is a major breakdown. And you can see the other prior breakdown in here. There's your breakdown off of a big sell-off. You had follow-through selling and then an immediate bounce. Now this was Brexit, so take that with a grain of salt. If we go back and look for something that's a little bit more traditional, we have to go way back actually. Something along those lines where you're starting to violate the major moving averages, you get a little bit of a bounce, you retest, and then you're off to the races in here. So I don't expect to see anything this drawn out. This move right now should happen pretty quickly, and we should be able to bounce. The Fed probably is going to raise in December, so the market won't like that. But if the market gets a sense that this is a one and done situation and they won't hike until later next year, then the market should be able to recover. So given that we've got a little bit of market weakness today, let's zoom in and see what we've got going for the rest of the day here. And you can see how the market came up and it took out that high of the day right there. That was a good sign. But now we're starting to poke back below it. I believe we're going to see additional selling. Now, that doesn't mean that we'll take out the low of the day, but we could probe in here. If we take out that low with ease, we'll hit an air pocket and we'll close really low for the day. If we come down and we make a higher low, then we could have a nice little bounce the rest of the day and recover some of this gap in here. So, looking for a little bit of weakness right in here, and then we could get a nice little. We'll know after this move has transpired what the market's going to do the rest of the day. So let's take a look at the pattern. I'm going to go into some of the searches that I like to use. In the platform itself, you've got two different filters that you can use. One of the first things I do is I always take one of the filters off. I like to use this 10SE when the market is in a transitionary period. Can any of you hear like a reverb at all, or is the sound coming through fine? Because I'm using my headset and I am hearing a slight delay, and I'm hearing everything that I said about 2 minutes previously in my headset. If you can type into the chat, I'd appreciate it. Just let me know if that sound is coming through fine so I can try and adjust something. Okay, so I believe I'll be able to, there's got to be a mute to keep me from hearing what's in my speaker, so I will try and address that in the next one and try and get my speakers to, in my headset, not to replay what I've already said. It's pretty annoying. So let's take a look at the pattern and see what we can find here today. And hopefully, I'm going to keep this pretty brief while I iron out all these issues. So I'm going to take this off and we're going to take a look at a few of the candidates in here. We're going to go to the day bull search. I'm going to start with the daily because first I want to make sure that I like the stock on a daily basis. And now I'm just going to flip through charts and I'll put up the major moving averages that we use. So here you can see play. Got a nice little volume spike down here on the bottom. Trades pretty well. When I talk about nice orderly price action, this is what I'm looking for. Very nice. Very rhythmic. Very nice. Really orderly. Not a bunch of random noise back and forth. Just a nice orderly price pattern, just like that. If I look at a chart, I want to be able to look at it and have a good sense of where this stock might possibly be going. The stocks that just do this up and down and up and down, they're all over the place, and we're going to see some. I don't want to trade those. You've got a little bit of an inverted head and shoulders here. So there's one shoulder, there's the head, there's the other shoulder. Draw the line across, and you'd have a breakout through that neckline. You also have a breakout above this 200-day moving average. Now we want to be able to move through it with some conviction because it is going to present resistance for us. But on a day when the market is down, that's excellent relative strength. Nice little breakout right there. There's your compression. And so this is a stock that you could get long. Not my favorite play, but not bad. So we're going to continue to just go down the list and take a look at what we've got here. Sorry, I need to go out on a daily basis. So the first exercise that I do is I'll usually just keep it on a daily basis, and then I'll go through and I'll note stocks that I really like on a daily basis, and then I'll zoom in a little bit closer on a 5-minute basis. So all I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to go through and look at these on a daily basis. Like that. I'm going to write these symbols down so that we can take a look at them. That EIX I really like. There's your little base right there. There's your 200-day moving average. The stock is popping up. Had a nice little bit of selling here. We've got plenty of room to get to the 50-day and the 100-day, so this is nice. We've got our volume right down there. So there's our pattern: compression, buy signal, breakout, volume. I like it. Got a very similar pattern here, and these are utilities, so we might see this a lot. EIX is a utility as well, so same type of pattern. We don't want to load up on any one group or sector, and again, utility sector, Duke Utilities. So I'm going to continue to go down until I find something that's not in the utility sector. Not crazy about this particular setup here. Stock is okay. It just doesn't move much. You can see nice tight pattern and everything, but this is a stock that just gets into a trend and just kind of grinds back and forth. So there's really nothing here for us. Lots of signals in here, bullish and bearish, and it's been drifting lower. Now it's rebounding, so it's not one I'm interested in. I did look at Cone earlier today. Got this nice bounce off the 200-day moving average, but no compression. The reason I liked it was the price action was very steady intraday, and right here is where it started to kind of look interesting that it was just going to grind higher, but now you've seen it's starting to kind of waffle around. You also can see that if I go back and I take a look at prior price action, I oftentimes do that when I zoom in on a stock. I'll use a 5-minute, but I'll also go to a 15-minute. Here's what I'm looking at. See that nice trend there? And then, oh, it just kind of falls apart and chops around. So you can go back into a 15-minute chart oftentimes. Now that's nice and orderly. That's some good stuff right in there. Just recently here. Really nice, tight price patterns. So that's good. Once it sets its direction, you're going to be in good shape. You just need to make sure that you set your target profits. The stock stalls, you need to get out of the trade. So we're going to continue to go down. I'm going to get back into that daily chart, and I'm going to just go down and see if I can find something else that looks really good on a daily basis, and then I'll describe to you why I like it on a daily basis. These are bottom fishers right in here. You got another stock that's bouncing off of this low. Right now, with the market being relatively uncertain, I like these types of setups because my downside is so contained. Even if the market fell apart, it would still find support down in this $28 level. So my downside's pretty limited, and I've got lots of nice upside to it. Good volume coming in here. Might be a capitulation low on this stock. See the volume go up, the sellers get exhausted, and then the stock starts to head the other way. So we like that kind of setup. Keep taking a look here, see what we can find. Not real. This stock right here, it's getting up through the 200-day moving average, sold off hard, had that little compression there, and now it's a little bit on the hot side here, but really good price action today. And here you can see this is a pretty steady one too. Nice tight price actions. I'm still looking for that stock that I would want to absolutely buy though. And we'll go back into the daily. Not bad. Stock really hasn't done anything. I mean, it's been between $56 and $54 for about the last month, 2 months, so it doesn't move a lot. You can see how tight the compression is. So Campbell Soup, not a very exciting stock. Some of our best bets have been the biotechs, and on occasion you'll get into semiconductors. Those tend to move really well. Chinese stocks, those tend to move really well. So Dish, here's one where we've got a long-term horizontal resistance point right there. Now the stock has to get through that horizontal resistance. You're going to see some selling pressure up here. So do I like it right here, right now, even though it's gotten through this little compression? I mean, it was strong yesterday. It's done well today in a down market. So I wouldn't be overly excited about it until it can get through that 56.33 level. And I'm still looking to see what I might be able to find here. That absolutely, we don't want to touch that at all. I do like this stock, even though it's at the high end of its range. You can see this nice tight compression in here. And I know Maria was in on this earlier, and I was considering getting in on this stock too. So nice tight compression above all the major moving averages, a breakout, really decent volume in here. So this is a nice stock. You can see how when the market was selling off earlier today, you had the stock grinding higher. So you could have gotten long the stock with a pretty good amount of confidence. You could have also waited for this compression. And as soon as you had that compression and you had a breakout on that compression, right in there at a 1237, you had a nice little opportunity. So there's only about a dime in this stock, so you had to be in and out pretty quickly once it rolled over in here. Let's take a look at what the market's doing real quick here. Down 1345, so basically about the same. We'll go into ASI Bull. Maybe this has some different stocks that we can take a look at. And I see HCA earlier. I traded this. And so continues to be very, very strong. I don't know if I posted a chart of this. So here's what I don't like about the stock. Herky, jerky, up and down, gappy, all over the place. Here's what I did like about the stock. Big volume. Yes, we do have a compression right in here, albeit a fairly wide one. We had a breakout above the 100-day moving average. It opened above the 100-day moving average and continued to power higher. And I liked it when it got through this resistance level right here at 78.06, and then it just powered higher. I'm going to put up the 5-minute chart, and you can see in here, I'm going to type in HCA, and then I'm going to type in SPY so that I get my overlay, and then we'll be able to see the relative strength very, very easily. So the gray line here is the SPY. You can see how it's challenging the high of the day. And you can see how the market sold off hard earlier this morning. The stock was up for the day and it compressed. This is exactly what we look for. So you got a stock that wants to move higher, pulls back with the market, and then it starts to coil up. As soon as the market starts to rebound, it breaks out of that compression. This is where you get long, and you should see immediate movement. And so your stop, say 5 minutes after you're in the trade, should be pretty much your entry point because we're expecting it to take off. And that's exactly what the stock does. Now I got out for about a 50-cent gain or so. I think I got out on this spike right in here, which I was happy to do because I felt like I was trading against the market. I've got a major market breakdown, so I don't want to get too aggressive with my longs. I was just playing a bounce. Well, the stock had more fuel to go, and it still might move higher. But I have traded this stock before, and I've had everything shape up beautifully just like this, and then the bottom fall out. And that's what you get with a herky-jerky stock like this. If I went to a 15-minute chart, you would see what it tends to be like a little bit more. Although you can't see it well because of the magnitude of this move. All of the other moves in here are a little bit more muted. So anyway, HCA was a stock that I traded earlier today. I did like the relative strength today. I like that breakout above the 100-day moving average. And now we're going to take a look at UHS. So in this case, we've got a stock that fell hard after earnings. We do have some price compression right in here. And I'm going to put the major moving averages up. So here you can see that the 200-day moving average is going to provide resistance. This horizontal level right here is going to provide resistance. So it has to move through that 124.20 level for me to get interested in it. And once it does so, I've got it above that 200-day moving average convincingly. I have it above the horizontal resistance convincingly. It has room to go up to 129. I've got some pretty decent volume starting to come in down here. So I have all my elements. I've got my compression, buy signal, breakout, volume. Got everything I need. Let me scan down the list here and see if anything jumps out at me. Not really. So I'm going to go to the bearish side. It's a little bit more interesting to look at today with the S&Ps down about 13 points right now. If you have any questions, type them into the chat, and there's a chat right on this YouTube page, and I'll try to address them during the presentation. This will actually, it is recorded, and it will be available on YouTube as well. So let's go into our weak candidates here, and we're going to take a look at ASI Bear. And let's see if we can find something that looks good. Boy, I like this Harman Kardon trade today. This is just classic. I'm going to remove the SPY from the list. Very tight compression. Nice little breakdown in here. You've got another tight compression in here. This is a great breakdown. You just violated the 100-day moving average and the 200-day moving average. A little bit of volume in here. And we'll go to a 5-minute chart. And early in the day, the stock was selling off pretty hard. Once I saw that breakdown, I knew I wanted to short it. If the market was going to continue to go lower, which I expected it to, I knew we'd make good money on it. And I think I made about 80 cents on that short. So that was a really nice one that I was able to find early. This Melly I saw early too, and it bounced. We had that open there and it bounced here. I was looking to short it, but it tends to be, is an internet company in Brazil. Can be a little bit gappy and choppy, you see here. But once it sets a daily move, it tends to just go in that direction. Okay, you see red candles like that too. So tends to have pretty good follow through, but I did like that breakdown today when it opened below the 50-day moving average. And I wanted to get it a little closer to that 50-day before I shorted it. Didn't get it. So that's been a nice trade though. And I'm not going to look at anything too pricey like $300 stocks. I'm just going to avoid them so we can hone in on maybe something that looks good. So if I look at PNC right off the bat, I go, not bad. We've got a little bit of a compression here. We have that's a gorgeous sell signal, by the way. And it's got a bunch of major moving averages really tight in here, right around the $86 level, $86.50. So when I look at this, I go, well, it didn't really compress on the low end of the range and then fall through it. So I'm not as excited about it right away because look at the distance that it's had to fall just to get through the lower end there. I've got a question regarding 50-day and 100-day moving averages on a 5-minute chart. Quite honestly, I don't use them on a 5-minute chart. They're of little relevance to me. I just hate toggling everything on and off when I'm flipping between a 5-minute chart and a daily chart, so I leave them up. So if I'm zooming in on this and I go to a 5-minute chart, you'll see all the moving averages. I just leave them up. So I don't use them. Maybe some of you use them. I don't. I'm just really looking more at relative strength or weakness, and I'm looking for these compressions. That's primarily of interest to me on a 5-minute chart. If you want, and I should show you something that I do that is kind of nice for those of you who like using the 1-0 squeeze study. I'm going to click Studies. And unfortunately, because of the way that I have this set up, I might not be able to get down to it. Yeah, I can't get down to the 1-0 squeeze study because it won't allow me to scroll with a dual screen format, so I'm going to disregard what I was going to show you. I'll have to do it in another webinar. But in any case, I'm not really interested in the major moving averages. I'm just looking for price compression. I'm looking for relative strength or weakness. So let's go to another stock here and keep looking for something that. So I did not like that. The stock had to travel an awful long way to get to that horizontal support level. I would much rather have something, let's say like this right here, where you've got a tight compression and you get your buy signal. And look, the stock had to barely move to get to the top end of that compression. Now I got all that upside and really nice explosive move. So I much prefer that. And I'm going to scroll through the chat when I'm done with all this, and then I'll answer your questions. So let's keep looking for a decent short in here. DLPH, we'll put those major moving averages back up. It just had gotten through that 100-day moving average. It's just below that horizontal support. This was a nice short on the open, and I had considered it. I had a ton of other positions on, so I took a pass on it. EFII, it's traveled a long way from 49.50 to 45 already, but it is below that 100-day moving average, and that should be providing resistance. And we already know that the stock wants to drop based on that type of price action there. So it's compressing very tightly in here. This could be a nice short today. I love it when it compresses that tightly. SGEN is one that I noticed early today, and I'll show you what I liked about that. So top end of the range, horizontal breakdown, and still had room before it got to that 50-day moving average. So I'm going to go into a 5-minute chart. Saw the stock open weak, and what I did was I think 52.80 was the high of the day. So I put a limit order in to short it at 52.30. I wanted to make sure I was able to get short because the market looked really, really weak to me. And so I was able to sell into a little bit of a rally, and then the stock fell apart. I was able to make 70 cents on that trade. So it was a nice trade, but it really didn't do much of anything. So I had to take my profits. It did not show the relative weakness that I wanted to, and the market was continuing to go down, and the stock was just sitting here. So when I talk about the different reasons that I get out for a trade, one of them is that the relative weakness is gone. It's not there anymore. So even though it looks good on a daily chart, on a 5-minute chart, the stock fell and now it's just sitting there. So there are probably buyers nibbling on it. It's not going to go any lower. Take your profits. Zebra. Oh boy, do I love this. That is nice. This is going to be probably a good short if the market reverses. And we're down 14.25. So keep this in mind, everybody. I won't be able to trade it because I'm doing a webinar. But there's your bounce. There's your compression. It breaks down through that, let's call it $65 level. That is a nice short. You know you've got $1 in it. So you got a potential dollar gain in this one. But let it come in. I'm going to overlay the SPY. And so here's the takeaway on this. Is the market was trying to inch higher. Actually, the stock has mirrored the market pretty well today. You can see how the market rallied and then the market is stalled out at this particular level. Well, so has the stock. But on a daily basis, we're going to see that this is a nasty little chart. I love that kind of stuff right there, but I want to see it through that horizontal support right there, which is, again, that $65 level. Look at where the stock is sitting right now, right on that horizontal support. So these technical levels, they are very, very significant, okay? So $65, we're sitting right on it. But if it breaks below that $65 level, got a lot of room to the 100, got a lot of room to the 200, and we're already below the 50-day. And we've got good volume in here. So I like it. And it hasn't fallen to this level with a great deal of speed, and it hasn't had to travel far. It's $3 move, so nothing too dramatic. It's on the high end of its range. So if the market rolls over, could be a very, very nice trade today. Keep that one on your list. SPLK is one that I shorted earlier today. It's just gorgeous stuff here. You've got your price compression in here. You've got your sell signal here. You've got your volume right here. You've got major moving average that it fell below, so it's below the 100-day. There's a lot of room for it to fall down to the 200-day. I'm going to go into the 5-minute chart. This is stock that I shorted very, very early in the day. And we'll take a look at this one. So I shorted it probably in the first 10, 15 minutes of trading. I didn't wait long. I liked what I saw. I liked the gap down. I liked the breakdown. I liked this little, I think I might have shorted it in this compression. I was in at 55.84, so I think that's right in this level right in here. So bottom dropped out. We made $1.09 on that trade. This could be a nice little compression, but that's the level that it needs to breach, that 55.87 level. And if it goes above this 56.21 level, it probably is going to rally and fill in that gap. But longer term, the stock does look weak. Really depends on what the market's going to do from here in. You want to see it compress, 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 and then ideally you want to see one of these red bars like this that takes you down through the lower end of that compression. If you get that type of price action and you get that drop below this level, you short it here, and 5 minutes later, you put your stop where your entry was, and I would expect to see that stock continuing to drift lower, especially if the market is moving lower. So let's take a look and see what else we've got coming up here. So this list here, ASI Bear, it'll have a lot of the stocks that are on Day Bear as well. I'm going to shift to that list so that it mirrors what we're seeing in the chat room. And there's Harman Kardon. You can see how this stock is just not getting off the deck at all. Even though the market bounced in here, stock got absolutely nothing. This is going to be a good short. I love that short. Going to go to a daily chart. Beautiful. I don't think I've covered this chart yet today. Look at that horizontal breakdown right there. Love it. So it's going to be a good short. This should be on your list. Look at that downside we've got. I'll put the major moving averages up because there you're below the 100-day, you're below the 200-day. Out of the ones I've shown you, this is good. That's a really good one. All you need is one. You don't need 10 good stocks, you just need one. That was actually nice. Rope will be nice below this right here because you've got all sorts of major moving averages that are converging. So ROP breaks below this 174.90 level. You've got some decent downside to it. And I think I might have just lost my platform because I'm running all the other software programs together. So I'm getting this circle here, so hopefully not, but it's possible. I'm going to take a look at a few of your questions. Let's see, primary scans are Day Bull Bear, ASI Bull Bear. Yes, those are the two that I primarily like to use. ASI Bear I used early today because I didn't want to wait too long. The market was going to decline as far as I was concerned, and if I waited for the search to come up, for my Day Bear search to come up, I would have to wait 10 minutes. So I already wanted to be in there looking for stocks that we're going to be selling off. That's why I went right to ASI Bear. Plus, it has more candidates. Let's see. I have difficulties entering stocks after big momentum moves. So do I. If I've got a stock that's made a big move, a little bit more leery of getting into it. Now, it depends on whether the move has been on a daily basis or if it's on a intraday basis. So, what helps me on a stock like Alta, and I'll try and bring that up. Yeah, I lost my platform, so the only way I can get it back up is to log off and log back on, which why don't we try and do that? And then I'll re-log into my platform and hopefully we'll be back up and running here in a second. What helps me get into a trade is when I've got compression and I have a defined exit strategy, then I don't really care how much it's moved. I just know that it has relative strength. I know it wants to move higher, and I know where my stop is. So that's what helps me get in the trade. I tend to ignore the fact that the stock was up $20. All right, should be up here very quickly. All right, so let's take a look at Alta. So, G. Pete, I'm afraid when I see a stock make a monster move, I get very nervous. So do I, especially on something that's up from $240 to $264 as a $24 move. Well, I was looking at it when it was at 255. So, here's what gives me confidence. I've got my compression right in here. I've got incredible relative strength. So, stock up nicely after earnings, stock compressing, market down huge. I know I can put my stop right there. Okay. But the stock is holding up and holding up. Even if the market had fallen more, I still have fairly limited downside. But what you ideally are going to be waiting for, and I tried to do this, was I didn't trade Alta for quite a while. I let the market low be established in here, and I waited for this compression right in here. And once we got through that compression, I bought, but it still did waffle around and I got a little bit nervous myself, so I exited the trade for a, I don't know, 40 or 50 cent profit. Oops, that would have been about a probably a $10, $11 winner. I don't know that I would have rode it the whole way up anyway, but there's another nice little compression right in here. What's the market doing? Market's drifting lower. Okay, look at, you can see the market coming back in here. What's the stock do? It compresses. Yeah, but it's up a lot, Pete. I'm nervous. Well, okay, but you've got a very defined program here. Right here, stock breaks out of the compression. Okay, that 257 level, you can see it in the right side, that is also your stop if the stock doesn't continue in like 5 minutes. This move should unfold very, very quickly. Okay, we have every single thing that we need on this trade. And if I'm in this trade for 5 minutes and the stock is dead wood, get the heck out. But it's not. It shoots higher. And now I have my stop in at my entry point. There's another nice compression right in here. Same thing. There's your compression. There's your entry right there. Wait 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. If it's not going, get the heck out. If the market is heading higher and the stock is not, get out. And you can see here that the SPY is starting to move higher right now. It's the gray line. So if you ever need to have the SPY up at all times, on a day like this, having this overlay really, it helps on the intraday charts. I find it kind of gets in the way a little bit on the longer term charts. So that's how I address it. Did the stock move a lot? Heck yeah, it moved a lot. Did it gap a lot? Yeah, but this is all gorgeous stuff in here too. I'd mentioned this before the open. I said this is going to be a great stock to trade. It's above the 100-day moving average right on the open, way above the 200-day moving average, above the 50-day moving average. Absolutely beautiful. So right now we got the market down about $8 or so. So we got a nice little rebound here, and getting a little bit anxious to get back in the chat room and see if there's something that we can trade. But let me see if I can tag something right now. We've already looked at the bullish side once today. Let me see if anything else is popping up on that day bull list. All I'm doing is I'm just flipping through charts. The more charts you flip through, the more likely you are to find something. I'm just looking for the pattern. And I'm also going to try and stay away from utility stocks. And for some reason, the for some reason I've got probably not enough memory in my computer to continue with the platform. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue. Going to conclude the webinar pretty soon here, but I want to answer your questions. So I'm going to log out one final time of the platform, and then I'm going to relaunch. And then I'll answer your questions, and we'll see you back in the chat room. Okay, so let me take a quick look here and see which remaining questions I have here. Looks like that's pretty much all the questions. So back in the chat room, you can ask me any remaining questions that you have. This is kind of a dry run for me on the webinar. I figured I'd probably have a few issues that I need to hammer out, and I do. Obviously, I've got to resolve any kind of memory issues and with my computer to make sure that the platform's not locking up, and I also need to get rid of this feedback that I'm getting through my headset. Anyway, thank you for attending, and I'll see you back in the chat room.